Let's kiki on this interesting story. Elton John is speaking out against the Trump administration's decision to slash USAID funding, including 90% of life-saving HIV contracts. On Instagram, he warned, quote, "This abrupt action could have devastating effects on the HIV response and put years of progress in jeopardy," end quote. His foundation is launching an urgent appeal, the Rocket Response Fund, to cover critical care gaps. Elton is urging people to vote for things that are just. Elton John sounds alarm on HIV funding cuts. What are we all talking about?
Thank God for Elton, his voice, his foundation. This is catastrophic, to be honest with you. And I don't think people understand it because they're thinking, well, it's global aid, it's USAID, it's not impacting us. But it does impact us. It impacts us because with all this cuts that's going on, suppose another strand of HIV develops.
Which is a possibility.
Which is a possibility, right? Because the funding cuts, now it's resistant. And guess what? That will have an impact on our community here. So and let's go back to how global aid started for HIV. It was George W. Bush and his compassionate conservatism who started to really double down on providing aid to Africa in particular to combat the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And so I'm pretty shocked at Trump that he wants to do this, but it definitely slowed the virus down. It allowed for major progress to be made with PrEP and other medications, right, to either prevent it. But what I'm worried about is, should this continue, right? Should USAID not be able to fund, what's happening in the developing world and all around the world, quite frankly, is that it could impact us here. And then all of a sudden we're seeing different strains of HIV in our community and no medication, right, to stop it, And so that's my fear, is that it will impact us. And I think people don't think that it's going to impact us. It can impact us.
No.
And it will,
and
like it did before.
We're a highly traveled place, the U.S. People come from everywhere and people bring anything, okay, like measles, right? Or we have a case in Miami of the measles, right? And so that's just scary. Like, I remember sitting in this bed 2 years ago or a year and a half ago talking about the possibility of 2 injections a year for our brothers and sisters, for our siblings, what I mean? Like, we're, to even having conversations of the full eradication of this.
That's right. But we're going backwards. We're going backwards. And even with a lot of the cuts with the Department of Health and, even funding, like, I know this story talks about USAID, but like we've seen local funding cut as well for HIV/AIDS work, and NIH funding cut, and so we are going backwards. And it's scary for our community. I know our community needs to wake up. And especially those conservative gays out there who, they're thinking with their pockets and thinking that this is going to be great. Guys, this impacts you. If you have sex with another man, this impacts you.
Yeah.
Impacts all of us. And we have to wake up and understand that.
Look, and boys, I love you. You are my heart, my world, right? But you fuckers don't use condoms, and you know that, okay? They want us to eliminate each other. They want us to die off. They want what happened in the 80s to happen again. We did not live through that. We don't know what that's like to have our friends here one week and then they disappear, right? You don't want to live through that. It gives me goosebumps because, like, I've heard the stories.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends, Dale Stein, he always tells me about his survivor's guilt, because he was active during that time, and you just never knew.
No, you don't. And one thing about our communities too is that because a lot of us, I have a kid, but like a lot in our community don't have kids, so a lot of the gay men travel a lot. They're going all over the place.
True.
Because
and Grindr's everywhere.
And Grindr is everywhere. And we know our community. You get a little drunk, a little high, and like you're out there like whoring and going to the bathhouses and stuff like that. So what my concern is that given our global society, given that our community travels everywhere and goes everywhere, the likelihood of bringing another strain back is very highly possible if these cuts continue.
Yeah. So folks, again, what Edward said, like, if you don't think it's going to affect you, you're wrong, right? It will affect you. And this will affect, honestly, everyone, know?
And I think about today is, Women's and Girls HIV Awareness Day. And women right now are the #1 new cases of new infections.
Isn't it black women?
It's black
also?
women in particular. Black women in particular.
Black and then brown right behind them.
And brown right behind them. But this has the chance to reverse that, right? Like, if this continues and the new strain breaks out, it very well will impact. For sure it will impact the gay community.
Yeah, no, I think it'll impact everyone. And going back to women, the reality is that because of what's going on right now with the current administration, there are a lot of people that are going back in the closet. This is fucking facts, okay? There are a lot of people that are not going to come out. There has always been men on the down low. All right. And this makes it even more to go even down lower,
Down
right?
lower. Yeah.
And then what does that happen? That brings something back to the wife. It could bring
right.
something back to the partner.
That's right.
And then we continue this.
Absolutely. It's crazy. It's insane. But, you know, that's one of the reasons why we located where we are at in Alapata in Miami is because of this epidemic, in particular impacting Black and brown women. And so we want to reverse this. We want to continue to reverse this. So your vote matters, your voice matters, your dollars matter as well.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't I know a lot of us have like a fatigue over the news and stuff like that. Stay educated, okay? Like just subscribe to us or subscribe to somewhere that you trust, right? And get your news from an educated source, Stay on top of what's going on because trust me, this stuff it will affect you, it will get to you, it will affect somebody that you love now or in the future.
That's right.
Right. This is an important conversation for our LGBTQ+ community. Help us tell these important stories by liking and subscribing to The FayWhat Show.